The day Kami had been dreaming of her entire life had finally arrived. She stood in front of Miss Tomora's grand iron gates, her eyes wide with wonder. For years, Kami had heard her mother, Ula, describe this mansion in vivid detail. Do you know the mansion has 5 living rooms? Each one with its own unique design. Her mother would say during their conversations. And now, for the first time, Kami was here, standing at the very gates of the legendary estate she had only imagined. She reached out to trace the intricate patterns on the gate, but her mother quickly grabbed her hand. Kami, Ula said firmly, I know you're excited that we are moving in, but you have to be sensitive. Remember, Miss Tomora is grieving. Miss Tomora had lost her only child, her beloved daughter, Jade, in a tragic car accident just a few months ago. Since then, she had become a shadow of the vibrant woman she once was. For years, she had poured her heart and soul into giving Jade the best life possible, only to lose her in an instant. Like Ula, Miss Tomora was a single mother who had raised her child without the support of a husband. This shared experience, along with Ula's reputation for being hardworking and trustworthy, had made Miss Tomora deeply respect her. While Miss Tomora kept the world at arm's length after Jade's passing, Ula was the only person she allowed to be near her. One sleepless night, consumed by sadness, Miss Tomora had made a decision. The next morning, she approached Ula. Please, move in with me, Miss Tomora said, her voice breaking. I need a friend. I need you. Ula was deeply touched but hesitant. I'd love to help, she replied gently, but I have a teenage daughter. I can't leave her alone at home. Miss Tomora held Ula's hands tightly. I have more rooms than I can count. Your daughter is welcome here. I just need you close. After a moment of contemplation, Ula agreed. Miss Tomora's offer was too heartfelt to refuse. A new beginning. When they arrived, Miss Tomora didn't treat them like mere staff. Instead, she welcomed them as part of her family. She gave them rooms on the same floor as her own, refusing to let them stay in the staff quarters. Kami's new bedroom left her speechless. It was larger than their entire old apartment. The space was a perfect blend of elegance and comfort. A king-sized bed with a deep emerald green velvet duvet stood at the center, illuminated by a crystal chandelier. Double doors opened into a luxurious walk-in wardrobe, and the en-suite bathroom featured a marble countertop, a rainfall shower, and a large bathtub with golden accents. Kami spun around the room, overwhelmed by its grandeur. Should I sleep in the bed, the closet, or the bathtub? She joked to herself. Despite her excitement, Kami remembered her mother's warning to be sensitive to Miss Tomora's grief. Over the next few weeks, she kept a low profile, speaking only when spoken to and quietly adjusting to her new life. An unexpected offer. One afternoon, there was a knock at Kami's door. She opened it to find her mother standing there with Miss Tomora by her side. Good evening, Kami greeted them, her voice tinged with nervousness. Ula smiled and sat down next to her. Miss Tomora took a seat in the chair across from them. Kami, her mother began, Miss Tomora has something important to share with you. But before she does, I want you to know that this is your decision. You're not being pressured. Kami's curiosity was piqued. She turned to Miss Tomora, who leaned forward slightly, her expression soft. Kami, she began gently, I'd like to sponsor the rest of your education. But there's something I'd like to ask in return. I want you to attend the school my daughter attended. It's a prestigious college that will prepare you to study abroad when the time comes. Kami's eyes widened in disbelief. Miss Tomora had already opened her home to them, and now she was offering to invest in her future. She glanced at her mother, expecting her to share her excitement, but instead, Ula looked hesitant. What's wrong, Mom? Kami asked. Her mother sighed softly. It's a school for the wealthy. A boarding school, she explained, her tone laced with concern. A new chapter begins. Kami's heart raced as she sat between her mother, Ula, and Miss Tomora in the principal's office of Pacific Heights Academy, one of the most prestigious boarding schools in the country. The air was heavy with emotions, hope, fear, and excitement all blending into one moment. The journey to this point had been surreal. Miss Tomora, still grieving the loss of her only daughter, had not only opened her luxurious home to Kami and her mother but had also decided to sponsor Kami's education at this elite institution. Will they accept me? Kami asked hesitantly as they waited. I'm just worried I won't fit in. Ula placed a reassuring hand on her daughter's arm, her eyes soft with concern. I understand, Kami. It's a different world here, and I don't want you to feel out of place. Miss Tomora leaned forward, her tone firm yet kind. You can't think like that. Kami has the potential to go far, and this school will give her opportunities she could only dream of. Don't let fear hold her back. Kami sat quietly, taking in their words. The idea of attending a prestigious school and the possibility of studying abroad felt like a dream. But the weight of her mother's concerns lingered. What if the other girls didn't accept her? What if she didn't belong? It's your decision, Kami, Ula said gently, squeezing her arm. Whatever you choose, I'll support you. Kami felt a lump in her throat. Leaving her mother and stepping into an unfamiliar world was terrifying, but deep down, she knew this was her chance to change their lives. Taking a deep breath, she turned to Miss Tomora. Thank you, Mom. I'll go to this school, and I promise I'll make it worth it. Ula looked at her daughter with pride, though her eyes betrayed a flicker of worry. Are you sure, Kami? Yes, Mom, Kami said with determination. I'll make you proud. Miss Tomora smiled warmly. You already have, Kami. I'll handle the arrangements. Pacific Heights Academy. Weeks later, Kami stood in awe as she stepped onto the pristine campus of Pacific Heights Academy. The grand buildings, immaculate lawns, an air of sophistication made it feel more like a 5-star resort than a school. Sitting in the principal's office, Kami absently smoothed the fabric of her new school skirt. It was soft and luxurious, a stark contrast to the worn-out uniforms she had worn back home. Soon, it was time for goodbyes. Ula hugged her tightly, whispering, "Please, be good. Don't waste this opportunity." As her mother and Miss Tomora's car disappeared from view, Kami turned to follow the principal. But when she looked around, she realized she was alone. Confused, she retraced her steps back to the office. I didn't realize you had left, Kami said politely to the principal, who was now typing on her computer. The woman barely glanced at her and sighed. Were you expecting me to wait for you? She snapped, her demeanor a far cry from the warm welcome she had given in front of Ula and Miss Tomora. I'm sorry, Kami said quickly. Who will show me to my dorm? The principal raised an eyebrow. Dorm? She repeated, as if Kami had spoken a foreign language. We use the term dormitory here. You'll need to adjust to our standards. Without offering help, the principal motioned for Kami to follow her. Struggling with her heavy luggage, Kami didn't let the woman's cold attitude dampen her spirits. When they reached the room, Kami's eyes lit up. It was beautiful, spacious, with 2 neatly made beds. It's so pretty, Kami exclaimed. I thought there'd be bunk beds. The principal sighed, clearly unimpressed. Everyone is in class right now. Unpack your things and don't steal anything, or you'll be expelled, she said coldly before storming out. Kami sat on the bed, her earlier excitement starting to waver. Her mother's warnings about fitting in echoed in her mind. For a moment, doubt crept in, but she quickly pushed it aside. I can't wait to meet my new roommate, she whispered to herself, trying to focus on unpacking the new belongings Miss Tomorrow had bought for her. A frosty welcome. Several hours later, Cami woke up from a nap to find a girl sitting on the other bed, staring at her intently. "Ah," Cami said, rubbing her eyes. "You must be my roommate." The girl didn't respond. She simply continued to stare. "Hello," Cami repeated, her smile faltering. Without a word, the girl stood up and began arranging her books. When the matron announced it was time for dinner, she stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Cami stayed behind, her appetite overshadowed by uncertainty. She decided she would try to speak to her roommate again when she returned. Later that evening, the girl came back, still silent. But Cami noticed her stealing glances, as though searching for something on her face. "Can you please tell me what?" Cami began cautiously. An unkind welcome. Cami had hoped for a fresh start at Pacific Heights Academy, but her first night was anything but warm. As she tried to introduce herself to her roommate, Non, she was met with a cold, unyielding stare. "You know my name too, huh?" Non said, her tone a mix of suspicion and irritation. "I'm sure you know everything about my family." Cami was taken aback. "I don't," she began, but Non cut her off, pointing to a picture frame on her shelf with her name neatly written across it. "Mind your business," Non snapped. Then, with an edge of sharpness, she added, "The problem here is you. You don't belong. You need to leave my school." Cami's heart sank. Her excitement about meeting her new roommate crumbled. What did Non mean by "he told you my name too"? Confusion and unease gnawed at her as she lay in bed that night, forcing herself to sleep while hoping the next day would be better. An unfriendly dining hall. The following morning, Cami quickly realized that her troubles extended beyond her dorm room. When she entered the dining hall for breakfast, the stares began. Whispers floated through the air, followed by muffled giggles. "That's the charity girl Miss Tomorrow's taking care of," someone whispered loudly enough for Cami to hear. Trying to ignore the comments, Cami picked up her tray and approached a table where a small group of girls was sitting. But as soon as she sat down, the girls got up and left without a word, their laughter trailing behind them. Embarrassed and overwhelmed, Cami abandoned her meal and rushed to her class. The Queen Bee's wrath. As the days went on, Cami found herself ostracized by her peers. Even during group projects, her classmates excluded her, often discussing luxury brands and expensive vacations she couldn't relate to. One girl, Tiwa, seemed to take special pleasure in making Cami's life miserable. Tiwa, the most popular girl in school, spearheaded the bullying. She influenced others to mock Cami, calling her charity case and pity project. "Look at you," Tiwa sneered one day when Cami pulled out the laptop Miss Tomorrow had gifted her. "Pretending you belong here just because Miss Tomorrow felt sorry for you." The room filled with laughter as Cami's cheeks burned with shame. Tiwa's cruelty didn't stop there. She mocked Cami's accent, making exaggerated imitations. "AW, why do you sound so local?" she asked with a look of disgust. The bullying escalated one afternoon when Tiwa dumped an entire trash can on Cami. "Oops," Tiwa said with a fake smile. "I thought it was the general waste bin." That night, like many others, Cami cried herself to sleep. A glimmer of kindness. Dinner time was no easier. Cami had grown accustomed to eating alone, avoiding the mocking stares and whispered taunts. But one evening, as she approached her usual table, she noticed Tiwa and her friends racing to sit there before her, laughing at her expense. Hurt, Cami turned to leave, deciding to snack on the provisions in her room instead. But as she reached the door, she heard a voice call out, "Cami, come sit with us." She turned around, surprised to see Non waving her over. Unsure if this was some kind of trick, Cami hesitated before cautiously walking over. Non was sitting with another girl who smiled politely at Cami before excusing herself. Is she leaving because of me? Cami asked softly, her voice tinged with insecurity. Non shook her head. No, she has a math test tomorrow. Relieved, Cami offered a small smile. Thank you for letting me sit here. Non chuckled. It's a public space. You don't have to thank me. Then, her expression grew more serious. Besides, you're my sister. I can't just watch them treat you like that. Cami froze, unsure of how to respond. Non always spoke in riddles, and Cami didn't understand what she meant. They finished their meal in silence, walking back to their room together. As the quiet stretched on, Non suddenly spoke again. I'm sure you learned this attitude from my dad, she said bitterly. Always silent, acting unbothered about how the next person feels. Cami, exhausted from the day's events, sighed deeply. I don't know what you're talking about. I've never met your dad. Miss Tamara offered me a scholarship to Pacific Heights, and I'm just here to study. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Your support means the world to us. And guess what? The next part of this story is coming very soon, so make sure to hit the bell icon to stay updated. We'd love to know where you're watching from and what you think about our stories. Drop a comment below and let us know. Did this story capture your heart? Tell us your thoughts, and maybe your comments will be featured in the next video.